I'm Gautam. I've been coding in Go around 2012-ish. I work for a company called Scout Red. We do land development search engine, and I have an open source project called Tagola, tile server. All of that's written in Go. I've been doing it for a while. But what got me interested in ATProto was I started looking at Blue Sky and looking at its architecture, and the way it's architected got me really excited, and I'm hoping to get you excited about its architecture so we can see more applications build on that platform. Quickly, what to expect from this talk. I'm going to give you a very brief history, not going to go too deep into it. Then we're going to look at the components that make up the architecture, and then we're going to focus in on identity. That's important. Build out a simple app view, and then there are several quite amazing apps that are being built on top of it, and I want to showcase what is capable of being done. So, quick history. Blue Sky and ATProto came out of Twitter. It was spun out just before the acquisition. It's run by a public beneficiary corporation who CEO is Jay. And yeah, not too much there to say. It's really young. It just came out to the public like last year. What is authenticated protocol? Well, so AppView, I've been saying that. I should have defined my terms before I said it. It stands for authenticated protocol. Basically, every data object in the protocol is authenticated so that you know who wrote that piece of data. And it's made up of three components. The first one, which I feel is the most important because it gives it's the core thing that makes it different than like Mastodon and stuff like that, where the PDS, or the personal data server, is where all the user actions is stored. So if you make a like or you write a post, it goes into your personal PDS and it doesn't modify someone else's post or anything like that. So when you like a post, it's actually writing a like record that then points to the post that you're liking, which is different. And then the next piece is the relay. So each of these individual PDSs you can think of them as kind of like websites that are out there. And then the relay is kind of like search engines that go and aggregate all of that data and create a fire hose that the app views can look at, analyze, save, aggregate counts, and then write those back into the PDS. I went into app views already. Now, there are two additional things in app views that I briefly will touch on, but won't go too deep into it because that is more Blue Sky specific, but you can use them for your own app views. And these are filters and labels. And I'll talk to them when we get to it. So as I was saying, a PDS is the personal data server. And this is super important because unlike other architectures like Mastodon, the user gets all their data in there, including their follows and their friends. So if they move between services, they get to keep their network with them. So if they get banned from one service and they want to move to another, they don't have to rebuild their network. They don't have to rebuild their followers. They don't have to rebuild their friends and their block lists and things like that, because that's all in the PDS, and that can just flow to the next view. If they don't like their PDS host, they can move their data away from the PDS host to another PDS. Now, there is a few interesting caveats that you have to think about when you're deploying to the PDS, which is one, all the data at current is public. Now, there are conversations that are going on in the community about how to make private data and protected data, so data that is publicly visible, but hidden so that the app view doesn't just give it out to you unless you're authenticated, and private data like E2E, but that's still something that's out in the air and getting fleshed out and built, and it's not quite available yet. The relays, like I said, there's two types of relays in the system. There is the standard relay, which is a fire hose. It's just WebSocket connections to a bunch of PDSs. It aggregates all of those things and then creates a fire hose of data. And that data is in Sabor format, which was used in IPFS. And then Blue Sky has built on top of this Jetstream, which allows you to filter the types of data you're going to receive, and it's also in JSON, so it's a little bit easier to deal with. And I was going to demo the Firehose, so let me show you this. So here is a live feed of the Firehose. So if you're skeeting, I think that's what they call it. If you skeet right now, your message might fly through here. So this is the entire ecosystem that's flying through right now. All right, I'll hide that so that, let me kill that so I don't eat up all the bandwidth. Oops, I didn't kill it. There we go. Is it dead? Yes. Nope. You know what? I keep doing Control A, Control C, which is create a window instead of Control C. Fingers are too smart. Okay. So that is the Firehose. The AppView, which is the interesting thing, but also the costly thing, is what gives you a view of the network of the data that's out there, right? So this is where you would have something like Blue Sky, and then you'd have your Blue Sky clients that connect to the AppView, which is providing the APIs. But the whole point of the AppView is to listen to the Firehose, collect data, aggregate it, make modifications, and then write records back into a particular user's PDS if they're taking actions on that view, such as liking posts, replying, commenting, etc. One thing I skipped over that's actually super important is that the data that everybody is receiving, these are, as I mentioned, signed blobs, but they're actually structured blobs. So they're well-defined, and they have a schema, which is based off of JSON schema a little bit, and in Blue Sky or ATProto lexicon, it's called a lexicon. All right. Really quickly touch on labelers. The whole point of labelers is part of Blue Sky's moderation. This is more specific to Blue Sky, and they listen in on the Firehose, and then they will make judgments about the content that's coming through, and then write objects, labels, into their own PDS about that thing. So then you can subscribe to a labeler, and that will then inform the view how it should treat that content, whether it should blur it, should it block it, hide it, make it pop up, etc. Blue Sky does provide a tool called Ozone that you can use to write your own rules for labeling so that you can create your own moderation. And again, if you're writing a app view on there, you're welcome to make use of these if it makes sense for the app that you're building. Feed generators are similar to labelers in that what they do is they listen to the Firehose, they get posts or whatever else, and they create a timeline that's specific to the thing you're looking for. So if you want a timeline that is the latest things up front, that's where you would use a feed generator for. Or if you want a timeline that highlights certain people only and then pushes everybody down, that's how you could use a feed generator. There's a tool called Gaz that makes it very easy to build these custom feeds using a scratched-like language, like a block-like language. Now, I have to take a small break and talk about handles and identity. So handles and identity in the AppProto ecosystem is handled slightly differently. If you look at your handle, it's a DNS name. And that's super important because it allows people to own the handles and also allows you to know if somebody belongs to an organization because they can use the organization's DNS as a form of verification that they actually belong to that organization. So if you're talking to a reporter, if they have a Blue Sky handle that ends with NewYorkTimes.com, you know that they're working at New York Times, right? But we need the ability to allow people to change out their handles because they may not continue to work for New York Times. They may go somewhere else, or they change jobs, or maybe the provider of that DNS record is no longer available. So what handles are actually are aliases to something that is called a decentralized identifier, a DID. And we'll go into a little bit more detail about what DIDs, how DIDs are calculated and how they're made. And then DIDs, they're the ones that link to a document that points to the user's PDS server. So I'm going to walk you through the hard way of resolving a handle to a PDS server, and this is going to be through curl scripts and DNS, just doing dig. So there's two ways a handle translates to a DID. The first way is DNS. So you try a DNS record and you ask for a very particular record, which is going to be the ATProto, your handle, and see if there's a record there. If there is a record, it should show you the DID. If there isn't a record, so for example, this is mine. Do a dig on gday.me, and you will see my DID comes out. But if that doesn't resolve, such as George Takei's, I hope George doesn't mind me doing this, you can hit the well-known URL at that location, and then it will also provide you a DID. So once you've got the DID, what's in a DID? What does it mean, right? So a DID is just a long string. It's actually a hash, a base 32 hash. But the first part of a DID, well, there's three parts, and they're separated by colons. The first part of the DID is just always the string DID. And the whole point of that is to let you know, yes, I have a DID. And then the second part is called a method, like how was that hash calculated? Unfortunately, this at current is a point of centralization, since the only DID that's currently supported is the PLC DID, which depends on a directory service that's only run by Blue Sky. There is a lot of work being done on the web-based DID, which will allow anybody to start handing out DIDs, but until that's there, the only one we have right now is the PLDC. And then finally is the argument, which is the SHA that's used to validate the originating DID document. So once you have a DID, you need to turn it into a DID document, because a DID document tells you where the PDF server is. And it's pretty simple. You just do a get command to the PLC directory with the DID that you had gotten from either a DNS record or from doing a curl to that well-known URL. Oh, I forgot to mention, by the way, there's a little tiny bit.ly link. If you go to there, that's the slides that I'm going through. So if I'm going through these slides too fast, or if they're a bit too small, you can get there as well. So when you grab that URL, what you will get is this JSON document. And there are two important things that must be done, which is to verify that the DID actually belongs to the person who's asking for it. And the way you do that is you look for the ID field and you make sure that that DID that's listed in the ID field is the same one that you had gotten. And secondly, in the also known as, that should be the list of all the handles that user has. And that the handle that you use to get that DID should be listed in there. If it's not, you shouldn't trust that record, or you should discard that request. If all that works, then you can just look at the services area, and the service endpoint for the AppProto PDS value will be the location of their PDS server. So you can go there to do the authentication and or read records from that server. Here's an example of how you can just do using the Blue Sky's Indico libraries, how easy it is to go from the handle all the way to that directory without having to do the curls and the DNS lookups. Now, if you read the documentation, which I recommend you do, you will notice they're in a transition phase. early on in ATProto, they were trying to use XRPC in their documentation. So you will come across documentation that talks about queries and procedures and just gives you actions and hosts and methods instead of the newer one, which is straight HTTP. But I wanted to highlight this so that if you do come across that documentation, you realize a query just means a get, a procedure just means the post, and then it's very easy to redo it. The newer documentation is easier to read because it's straight up HTTP. All right, a quick example of how to do that. All right, so we're going to go into a little bit of code. There's a lot of code. I'm just going to highlight the parts of this, and we're going to build a simple app view. Oh, I missed a slide. Okay, well, I was going to show you a demo, but I've been showing you the demo this whole time because this presentation is actually the code that we're running. And basically what I did was I uploaded all my slides onto my Blue Sky account, and this has been showing me those images as a slideshow. So if you could even go to GopherCon here, GOPHER, GopherCon.com, and it should bring up images that GopherCon has been posting to their feed. So, all right. So how do we build this cool little app, right? All right, here's the main. I'm using standard HTTP for this. No fancy like echo or anything like that as I would do. Just wanted to show that off. So you can do all of this very easily with just using the standard Go library, using the newer HTTP functions that allow you to do gets and whatnot. OAuth in this system is kind of interesting. This is also the reason why I'm having to use ngrok. And if you were to go to there, you can actually see the application. This is running live. The reason OAuth is interesting in here is you've got web views that are who knows how many, and PDSs who knows how many. And your web views are authenticating to that particular PDS. So you can't pre-register. So they've come up with a way for a web view, when it's registering to that PDS, how to exchange all of that stuff. Not going to go into that because that's a very deep topic, but I know there's a bit of confusion. This sample code walks you through that if you wanted to understand that more. All right, let's see. Let's look at the gallery. So the way that gallery app works is it takes in a handle, and then we're using the public API because we're not authenticated. And I'll show you how the authentication works. We do that, we resolve the handle, and then after we resolve the handle, we can call Blue Sky's APIs with the client to get the feed of all of the posts that handle has created. And then I just go through those posts, pull out all the images, and generate that view that you saw. That's just straight HTML and CSS. So let's log in a bit here. Normally, this would be a post, but I'm being lazy, so I'm just using everything as GET request. So here, I'm going to try to log in, and it helps if I actually spelled my name right. Okay, or my handle right. So this is the OAuth process. As you can see, it's asking me to sign in. Sign in, and it redirects me here. The difference should be that now I should have, I'm not good at CSS if you can't tell. There's little tiny buttons right there. So if you go to any one of these slides or images, and you can hit one of these buttons, and it will fail. That's the beauty of live demos, right? What happened here? Okay. Let's try a different button. Okay, there we go. And there should be a link here that shows me the reply. View reply, there should be a here, and I'm not seeing it. But if we go to Blue Sky, I never remember the website. And if you look at my notifications, yeah, you'll see people have been posting, but there should be a notification in here of me liking that slide. Let's see, profile. There you go. So I posted a comment, and if you guys go on, you should be able to do the same. These are some really amazing apps that have been built on top of AppProto, just to show you the capabilities. Streamplace is a live streaming, it's kind of like Twitch, that's built right on top of AppProto. Tangled is amazing, that's a Git repository. Paysphere, a bin, and all of these, I don't know why the links aren't working. Oh, it's because it's an image, Gautam. Come on, think about this. You did this. All right. But if you want, I would highly recommend checking all of these out and seeing how well it works. Thank you. My name is Gautam Day. You can find me on Blue Sky at gday.me. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to get in touch. I hope this got you a good understanding of Blue Sky and got you excited to go build something on top of it, because I think we can have a better internet, especially with a protocol like this.